sick too badly. So this is truly unlucky for you. I haven't been like super duper sick in like a pretty long time. And then I'm assuming what I got was like the flu, but I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there are types of people I think there's like type A and type B. Like some people get sick often, but it lasts for a short amount of time and is like relatively something that they can deal with. I've had friends or relatives who are sick often, but then they're fine in a couple days, or like they function, they go to work and stuff, they don't care. And then there are people like me, that's type B, where I don't get sick very often, but when I do, it kicks my ass for like weeks. It's like a buildup or something, a buildup of disease or something. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Type A sounds, I don't know, sounds like it sucks though. If you're like constantly microdosing, being sick.
Yeah, exactly. Microdosing.
That sounds like it's worse because you're just, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you want to be at peak performance for as much as you can.
Mm-hmm. But I was, earlier I was messaging you when you were talking about getting sick. I was being serious about zinc being a miracle pill when it comes to colds specifically, because I swear that thing, that just take one of them and it's prevented me from, I know it's prevented me from getting sick many times because I can feel it coming on. I got like an itchy throat or like nose running or something. Take one of those and I'm fine.
I actually did go and get zinc after you said it.
Did you really?
But it wasn't even the Uncle Dane miracle blessing didn't fix the cough.
No, the cough is, I think the cough is just lung issues or something.
No, yeah, as far as I know, it's because it's like it's forcing you to cough so you can get rid of all the like build up inside you after all the sickness. So you have to like cough it all out and like spit it out.
Well, before we get into, I just to preface people, I mean, people have seen the title, so they know what you're going to talk about. So I feel silly, but just to officiate it, what unlock did you want to talk about today?
Yeah, so I picked the Rescue Ranger.
Okay. It's only taken two episodes so far for someone to pick an engineer weapon. So I figured people might not do that because, you know, I've already talked about those weapons, but I am interested to know why you picked it, but we can talk about that later. First, I want to talk a little bit about you. And I also have a question for you about TF2 that you might be like good to answer, or at least like have more information on it than me, because well, anyway, let's just start with I only had two things really queued up. The first one is your videos. First of all, I'm a big fan of your videos, and people who are watching this who don't know who you are, you make a TF2 videos and they're very well made and well constructed, and I like the animations that you make so much that I've actually contracted you to make a few animations for my own videos over the years. But anyway, the videos, in your videos you talk in a monotone voice, and I've seen your streams and you don't talk like that. So, and for a while you didn't stream, so I figured you just talked like that. And then I saw you talking normally, and I was like, oh, he's doing a thing for the videos, which is normal. I mean, people do like YouTuber voices, but your YouTuber voice, quote unquote, is so much different than most YouTubers. And I am curious if that's a conscious decision. It must be. And why you do it. I have a feeling I know why you do it, but I am curious why you decided to go with that.
To be honest, I think it's just, I don't know, man. It's like a script reading voice. I don't actually like deliberately put it on. It's just how I come across, or like how it comes out when, you know, after I've written everything up and I read it back. This is how I sound.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like if I were to just read something off of a piece of paper, then I probably would sound like that reading it for the first time. But when I write my scripts and when I hear people read scripts, it seems like they take the option of trying to make it sound like they're not reading a script, but you make it sound like you are. You lean into it, I should say, which I kind of appreciate in a way, because the type of videos you make are hard to understand the subject matter of. They're very complex, and like you usually kind of dumb it down for people to understand. And the voice helps. I think it does help, whether you intended to do that or not. I think that it works very well.
Yeah, it's really not intentional. I haven't really thought about it that much, but through talking to you now, I guess like I don't know, maybe it's influenced by like class presentation voice, when you're standing up in
Right.
front of class and kind of like reading a report or something, you're doing like a PowerPoint,
Yeah.
or like when you're just reading a book in class, kind of, don't dramatize
Exactly.
it, you kind of just read the passage you were told to and kind of move on and get on with it.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly. That's a
but yeah,
good
I don't
comparison.
know. I think it also has to do with like the type of stuff I was writing about, with like the code stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that kind of naturally lent towards that. But I have noticed that recently as I'm doing more like experiments in like gameplay, like sillier stuff, I've naturally wanted to write in a more like naturalist, like I don't know, talking tone of voice. So
Hmm.
I'm kind of drifting the other way now as well.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I have kind of felt a little bit of that in your more recent videos, but I don't know. I like the monotone voice. I think it's kind of your so that your signature in a way. I do really appreciate you bringing the comparison of like PowerPoint presentation or something, because that's kind of how a lot of your videos feel like to me, and they're very interesting. PowerPoint presentation. That's not to downplay them or anything. They're very interesting videos, and if you haven't seen them, if you're listening to this, you haven't seen them somehow, then you should definitely check them out. They're very cool, informational videos.
Hmm.
And I do also appreciate the little running joke of adding Gabe Newell saying something stupid at the end of every single one of them. It's a funny meme.
Yeah, every video, I just think like it's got to be the last one, right? How do I keep like putting more shit in there? How does Gabe always have shit to say?
He that is convenient that he's recorded himself saying a lot of things. So you can voice mix him saying whatever you want to. I
That's
wonder
true.
if there's got to be like an AI Gabe Newell voice based on all that stuff, right?
Well, yeah, but I think it's pretty clear that people want it to be like janky and like sentence mixy and that kind of stuff, right? I think if you got
Yeah.
an AI to do it, it just completely loses the
No,
magic,
I
right?
completely agree. I think the sentence mixing
Yeah.
stuff is funny. I mean, TF2 animations kind of have solidified that style of comedy into people's brains. If they were raised on it, then they're gonna love it. You know.
Yeah, that's actually a crazy qualifier you have to put on it now. If people were raised on it, yeah, people are watching like Skippity Toilet these days. Dang. It's the times have changed.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is about a recent like TF2 development that happened.
Right, of course.
Because honestly, I don't really know what
Hmm.
the deal is. I'm very confused on what the significance of it is, because I basically what I had heard is uh, the TF2 developers or Steam or Valve or whoever released the source code for TF2 and a bunch of their
Uh-huh.
source games. But I was under the
Right.
impression that that stuff had already leaked and was already available to people. And the only real significance of this is that Valve is officially releasing it instead of it being leaked. I just don't understand why it's a big deal, other than the fact that like they're making a statement about it. I think is the most significant factor. But these are, as far as as far as I knew, files or whatever that we already had access to. We being the
Hmm.
community or whatever. But am I wrong about that, or is there other stuff that I'm unaware of?
Yeah, so from my impression, from what I understand, is that this was basically done for the sake of, mainly for the sake of like TF2C and OF, right? The two TF2 mods.
Mm-hmm.
So previously they have no legal standing and they wanted to, or like they weren't legally able to be put on Steam and they wanted to be put on Steam. So this was Eric's solution to, here's how these mods can be legally be put on Steam without like, too much trouble,
I see.
right?
Oh, so like the Steam Workshop or something.
No, no, no. There's a, actually if you go check, there's a TF2 Classic like Steam proper like game page for it now, and people can just
Oh,
download the game off of Steam and play it.
really? Oh, okay.
Yes, that's one component. The other thing I would say is that the leak we had is work from like 2017-ish, and the game has changed since then, right? So
Right.
now, besides Valve like officially giving it to us, it's also up to date, which is very nice. Do you remember when we actually did the short circuit thing? I told you we couldn't actually know certainly what was happening because the code was too old. So now, if you did that video today, we could actually just straight up go look at it.
The short wait, what's it? Sorry, the short circuit
The short
thing?
circuit. You remember when you did the short circuit ball video, and you were
Oh yeah,
asking
yeah, yeah,
about like,
yeah.
oh, exactly how it deletes projectiles, blah blah blah, and I said that like the code is too old. We kind of just
Oh
it's not
yeah.
in the leak.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I see. So yeah, right, right. Cuz the short circuit ball came out in 2018. So that was after the leak stuff. I see what you're saying. So this is a new updated version of all that stuff. So
Yeah, this is like the latest that they have. So also stuff like the Dragon Surrey, we have code for that. We have code for like any of the new weapons they added since then.
now the source code includes all of those new things, newish things. I should say when we say new, we mean like this is from 7 years ago. But
Yeah, it's like the TF2 new. It's
yeah,
a different word.
the TF2 new is wild to me, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. I think when we get around to the Rescue Ranger, because there's some things that have something to do with that. But I just wanted to clear that up first because it is a point of confusion for me. Because
Right.
to me it almost felt like they were making a statement of like, hey,
Oh, we're done. Fuck this.
yeah, exactly. I don't know if that's like a I haven't looked
No,
at
I don't
people's
know if there's any
opinions, but
reason to think that. If anything, it should be even better for at least for bug fix fans. Because now, since it's on GitHub, people can just post direct well, technically it's called a pull request, but it basically is people submitting like code patches, and then it's a lot. It really depends how Valve wants to do it, but in theory, it's technically very simple for them to just click a button and then like it'll just merge into the code.
yeah, okay, I see. I mean, that would be very cool if it was as streamlined as that, because communicating
Yeah,
with Valve
and
about this stuff has always been like pulling teeth. So at least there'll be like a hub for submitting that kind of stuff directly.
at the least, there's a lot of people already submitting a bunch of codes, so
That's great. I mean, I
it'd
hope
be
they're
cool
open to including it, because I had always heard that they've been reluctant to do that in the past because they're afraid of accepting what they would call foreign code into one of their official products. But maybe they're a little bit more lax about that now. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it really depends how they want to do it because in theory, someone at Valve would still need to review it, so it kind of might not matter at all. But at least it's a public source, so then people who wanted to, add like bits and pieces of fixes for their own like TF2 mod they're making or something,
Right.
then that would also help them.
I mean, I might not completely understand the specifics of it, but I do like that the information is just more available for people. I mean, that's a nice gesture. So, and Valve has always been kind of weirdly enough, one of the cool companies when it comes to things like that. Not necessarily when it comes to other things, but when it comes to things like that, it sounds like they're generally pretty nice. For example, they're very lax on their copyright laws stuff.
Oh yeah.
Which I very much appreciate as a YouTuber, because I don't have to worry about TF2 music or something getting copyright claimed or something. They're never going to do that, and it's very nice to know that will never happen.
Yeah, I'm very thankful I never got into being like a Pokemon YouTuber. That sounds like absolute shit.
Right. Yeah. Or any Nintendo game for that matter. Nintendo seems to be. At least I've heard rumors of it, because here's the thing: I've always used like Nintendo music in my videos, and I've never gotten problems for it. But it sounds like if you play Nintendo games, it might be different, which is strange because the entire reason why video game music in general has always been kind of off limits is because of video games being played on YouTube, and that would cause problems if they copyright claimed music. Anyway, that reminds me, just really quick, because well, I don't know, you don't really use a whole lot of music in your videos, but I do. And one of my recent videos, I used the Plants vs. Zombies soundtrack, and the video got claimed as doing shared revenue, which I thought was interesting.
That song is so old too, though, isn't it? Like
Yeah. from
They
like
haven't made a new one
2005
of
or
those
something.
games in so long.
Yeah, unfortunately, I love Plants vs Zombies, and I heard that Plants vs Zombies 3 was going to be like a return to form, but then they like gave up on it halfway through. Anyway, I'm sure you could probably look the lore up for that. But anyway, I thought it was interesting because it said sharing instead of just. There's like a difference between it being claimed and like you can't really make as much ad revenue. Sharing means that you're sharing the revenue of the video with the person who owns the music. And I don't know what the split on it is, but I guarantee you from that video, which has like almost 1 million views, I've made like less than $100. So, whatever that split is, it's probably like, I don't know, 99.1. So that's not sharing.
You gotta start commissioning your music. Fuck it.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't sound complicated at all. Just hiring an entire orchestra to make music for me. No, I like using video game music because it's familiar to people and it matches the theme of, I try and match it to the theme of what I'm doing. So it sucks if that's a trend that's going to be happening and where they're going to be like doing quote unquote sharing splits. Right. That just means that I get 1% of it. Exactly. Thank God for ad sponsors. Speaking of which, this episode is sponsored by Factor 75. If you're looking for more ways to eat stress-free, everything taken care of in the food department, look no further than Factor, because that's exactly what they've been doing for me. On those busy days when I'm locked in, editing, gaming, whatever, it's always nice to know that I've got a box of food ready to eat. Check this out. This one was their keto meal plan for the week, but if you're into other dietary stuff like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or vegan and veggie, they've got those as well as any assortment of 35 meal options for you to choose from. They've got snacks, smoothies, and these healthy little juices that are great, so I'm sure you'll find something that you love. Factor just makes things so easy. I literally just put it in a slightly dirty microwave, cook it for a few minutes, and boom, it's ready to eat. Nothing to worry about, no grocery shopping, no meal planning, no cooking, and it's all good food too. I just got the basic stuff here and it's fantastic restaurant quality, but they've also got some gourmet options on there. Filet mignon, shrimp and truffle butter, broccoli, always tastes fresh, steak is always tender. It's basically just a 5-star meal from the comfort of your own home, and then when you're done, you can just lock right back in. So delay no further. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code 50Dane to get 50% off, plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50Dane at factor75.com to get 50% off, plus free shipping on your first box. Once again, go to factor75.com and use code 50Dane to get 50% off and free shipping. It's good stuff, and thanks to Factor for sponsoring this episode. Now, let's get right back into it.
All right, but yeah, do you wanna talk about TF2 weapons or something?
Yeah, I guess. So the Rescue Ranger. I mean, well, I've always said that it's my favorite weapon. I don't know if that's necessarily true anymore, but it is probably top 3. What do you think about that? I mean, the Rescue Ranger is, if you're not familiar, it's engineer primary. What do you think about it? Why did you pick it?
I don't know if I would necessarily try to come out the gates and be like, oh, it's OP or underpowered, but I thought about it since the time you invited me, right? And I think the thing that I'm not sure about is how it kind of betrays the interplay from NG maintaining his building, like the risk of it, right? Because instead of having to get into melee range and get shot by bullets and like hit by explosives and such, you can just avoid all of that and just shoot a projectile.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the biggest component of why I think it might be kind of a bad weapon, like a bad design in the first place. Just because it kind of like pulls you out of it entirely, right? And I'm not sure if the drawbacks to it, like the downsides to it, are enough to make up for how big of a gain you get. I don't know, but I don't really play engineer, but at least to me it seems like a betrayal of that like gameplay design of like, if you want to maintain your building, you have to put your own personal safety at risk. Right?
I see.
And you don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
And so what's the cost of getting this upside for the engineer?
I mean, I can tell you,
is it big enough?
I can tell you that the cost is your own personal defense, because the shotgun is really good.
Okay.
I use the shotgun a lot more these days because I used the Rescue Ranger for many years, and whenever I switched back to the shotgun for a while, it was so addicting to have that control that the Rescue Ranger doesn't allow you to have over making sure that you don't go down. Because here's the thing, the Rescue Ranger can make your gun stay alive for a little bit longer, but it cannot make you stay alive for a lot longer, which translates to your gun going down, because if the NG is dead, then the gun is open season. So I've always felt that the biggest trade-off with the Rescue Ranger by far is the fact that you can't really kill anybody with it very, very easily. I mean, you can do a little bit of damage, but it's nothing like the shotgun, of course. Like the shotgun, you can two-shot most things. But I would say that that's the biggest trade-off. Your personal defense, by far.
Okay. So you think that in the end, the how to describe it? Like the gains you get from making your sentry tankier and more survivable, you're kind of trading it by eyes just kill you instead.
Exactly. Like if you see an engineer, it's kind of like the Wrangler. Like the Wrangler, I think, is like kind of the worst version of this gameplay design, where it's just like you just kind of like use this to make your gun more tanky, stronger, and you don't have to be near your gun at all for it to work. The answer to that is to kill the engineer. But with the Rescue Ranger, it's so much easier to see where that's coming from. You can see where the bolts are coming from.
Right.
It makes you a little safer from getting sniped or getting splash damage or something. So it's nice for that. But the gun doesn't just heal. I mean, we can talk about a bunch of different stuff, but the healing thing is the main thing that people do with it by far, because it is very good for that.
Do you think what about the right click then? Do you think the safety net is fair?
Yeah, because it costs 100 metal. I mean, you have to have some decent metal management with it. You also have to have a sense of timing, because if you just don't rescue it in time, then
it dies.
Then it dies, obviously. Also, a spy sapping it is like kind of the counter to the Rescue Ranger, because you're not near your gun at all. Ideally, I mean, you can still heal it from short range. I mean, I would say that like the weirdly not overpowered thing, but the weirdly imbalanced thing about it to me is the fact that it's cheaper metal wise to heal it for the same amount of damage, or the ratio of spending metal to healing is better, which is strange because if you look at the information of the weapon in game, it says at the bottom 4-to-1 health to metal ratio when repairing buildings, and it's in red as if it's a downside. But that's like an upside compared to the wrench. The wrench is 3-to-1, so it's like better.
Oh, what?
But I know why this is, and this is why I was saying, like, people always thinking of old TF2 in comparison to things that have been with us for longer than old TF2 ever was around, is that a long time ago, the Rescue Ranger used to be free to heal your buildings, which was kind of overtuned for sure. You didn't even have to.
Right.
You spent no metal. You could be at 0 metal and heal your gun.
That was pretty insane.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I think to be honest, I'm also really clouded by I've only really been playing 100-player TF2 these days.
Really?
So when I think of Rescue Ranger, I'm thinking of like fucking 6 dickheads spamming a sentry gun with like a Wrangler shield on it.
Holy crap! Yeah, I mean.
So I think I'll concede that I don't really have that many particularly strong opinions on it in 24-player. I think it's probably okay. The best I could say is that if we had to argue, right? I think the most I would argue about is like its gameplay design in like the space it takes in TF2. But it does sound like you feel like, practically speaking, as the actual engineer gamer, it's mostly fine. So I don't know if I have much to say about that.
I do feel like that, but it is interesting that you bring up like the 6 dickheads spamming it at one Wrangler,
right?
Because the thing is, I've always gotten shit from people who are like, "Oh, Uncle Dane wants to get rid of cooperative engineering." I said that so fucking long ago that I don't even remember saying it. Okay, I don't want to get rid of it. I just pointed out that it was like pretty overpowered for there to be like 6 engineers on one team, and for one, like they're like ants. Like you can't get rid of them. Eventually, they just start compounding off of each other. Like it becomes unbalanced when there's too many of them. Thank thankfully, most games that doesn't happen. I think that the fact that it's very rare for you to run into an entire team of engineers in public servers, that's the main reason why Valve never has addressed it. But I do think that it has the capability of being too ridiculous, which is the thing that I've pointed out in the past, and maybe I was emboldened enough to say that they should just get rid of it because of that risk. But over the years, I've realized, like, I've literally never ran into that problem. And sometimes you can run into like 3 engineers on Upward Last, for example, is sometimes too much. But for the most part, I mean, like, you don't really run into it. But if you're mentioning like 100-player TF2, like, of course, that's gonna be too crazy, because there's just by default going to be 6 or 7 or more engineers on the same team.
I think what you're saying is true for 100 players, where like the engineer weapons kind of scale faster than humans can. Almost, or like the rest of the game's weapons. So it is really possible for like, I mean, I feel like it's pretty common for there to be, you know, like a pyro, and then like a wrangler engineer, and then there's like a bunch of rescue rangers, and then there's like dispensers everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's like such a hurdle to overcome with like Ubers and such. Yeah, to your point, I mean, I think you're broadly correct. Like TF2 is balanced by like humans don't want to do the same thing. Like even beyond engineer, if you stack 12 heavies, you will blow everything out of the water.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Because it's boring.
Nobody ever brings that up. Like I've joined servers where just because people want a meme, they're like, everybody go heavy. And it's like impossible to beat. It's literally the best strategy you can have in a public server to win. If you go 12 heavies in payload, you win. Like on offense, they just all sit on the cart. Like there's no way around it. But people don't really do that very much, so they never bothered to balance around it. And why would you balance around something that rare? Related, the uncle, what is it?
1,000 Uncles.
1,000 Uncles. Thank you. The thing I fucking was obsessed with for a year. That is kind of almost like proof that too many engineers on one team is really ridiculous, and you have to basically make sure that they're all dumb for it to actually be able to be overcome. I am actually kind of curious what it would be like if there were 40 human engineer bots, or not bots, but
because it also used the short circuit as well.
Exactly. Because
it becomes pretty hellish.
I've gone short circuit engineer on the red team on my own servers because I'm allowed to do that, and it's funny, but I mean I'm only one person, and like there's like 7 demo men spamming stickies. Like I can't delete all of them. But it did get me thinking. I was like, man, if there were, I don't know, at 10 of the 40 engineers doing that, then it would probably be impossible. And maybe someday we can collaborate. This is my pitch to you, that someday we can collaborate on the 1,000 Uncles experience, but we get 40 engineer volunteers from
that'd be really easy.
Who are real to be exactly. It would basically be your 100-player server, but we just make it 24 versus 40, and then everybody on red is engineers and everybody on blue is, regular. They can go whatever they want. I think that would be an interesting experiment, because I think it would be significantly harder, and people already have a lot of trouble with 1,000 Uncles, except for the extremely hardcore players. Shout out to those people. I see updates from them all the time in the Uncletopia Discord server. They're like speed running it and shit. They get like groups together to do it. It's so cool. But I occasionally I boot up TF2 sometimes, and I don't even play the regular game. I just log into 1,000 Uncles and I join spectator and watch people struggle. It's like my own little ant farm. I'm obsessed with it. But yeah, I do find it interesting how even if every person on the engineer team is dumb, it's still really hard. I mean, you just have so many of them, it compounds. But anyway, the Rescue Ranger, I think, definitely is one of those weapons that scales in power the more people are using it, for sure. That is an interesting observation that I think only you would be able to bring, being the 100-player TF2 person.
Yeah, I speaking of your 1,000 Uncles thing, I did a stupid experiment where we had like 50 soldiers versus 50 engineers. Oh yeah, that's the thing I wanted to say to you
Oh, that like a
about
class
like
wars thing.
what class would win if like you had like 40 engineers. I think it also kind of depends on the map. I think it depends
Oh, for
on.
sure.
I think engineers basically lose when the maps are too open. But if you have, if you know it's a map that kind of like funnels people into like a
Hmm.
choke, or like there's not too many ways you can like spam the sentry and there's like a fixed number of angles, then I think like the engineers can
Yeah.
hold it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I noticed was like the big limiting factor to it. Um,
Hmm.
so like in the experiment I did, it was like like 50 soldiers, and we played Badwater, and like the first 2 points, the engineers got steamrolled on defense,
Right.
and then they held the third choke. Because if you imagine the third choke, it's just like a tube, right? Like the
Yeah.
area between point three and like the last point's like where the ramp starts. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah. There's only one decent sight line, and there's hardly ever going to be any sentries that are in that sight
Yeah, so they
line.
just built everything there, and then they just like Wrangler, short circuit, like every stupid thing you can
Yeah.
think of, and then you can't do anything.
I will say with 1,000 Uncles, I think Badwater is the map that they have probably the fastest time on in the speedrunning group. I think they've beat
Huh.
it. They've beat it in like less than 3 minutes or something ridiculous.
It's pretty okay for the most part. I guess it depends what other maps you're comparing it to.
I mean, I like compare it to something like Dust Bowl. I feel like Dust Bowl last always gives people problems.
What stage? Like last?
Like last, the very last one. Dust Bowl last, I feel
Um,
like I see people get stuck on that one in 1,000 Uncles for
yeah,
over
I
an hour
suppose.
quite often.
I think the problem is that there's like no entryways on that last point.
I think the problem is
Like
there's
everywhere you go,
there
there's a sight line
like
staring at you.
whenever you Uber across the bridge, you're already getting a
Mhm.
bunch of knockback from like 5 or 6 sentries that are just permanently behind the point. And then to to boot, if you don't take like control of the gulch or whatever that is, the underneath the bridge part, if you don't take control of that,
Right.
all of the engineers under that will shoot you off the bridge and you won't be able to cross it. So I mean, you have to basically do that part of the map in stages where you take certain buildings and take certain areas before you can even have a chance at pushing across the bridge. It's very interesting.
Oh yeah, that's how it actually plays out in the 100 player too with like
Mhm.
CP Dust Bowl. What I've noticed that people like there's always like a bunch of people everywhere, right? So there's people in like the lower tunnel as well, like working at it as well. But usually what I notice is that the main objective is to take that like right side like mini room. You know the room with the stupid like slit at the bottom where like snipers can shoot your feet.
Yeah.
Like to take that room, that's like the first order of operations. You take that,
Uh-huh.
and then from there, you can kind of take like the room opposite of that with like the I don't know what to describe it. You know it's just like a tiny hallway room,
Yeah.
and then from there you take glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even taking that left side room and putting stuff in there is like that's how you win Dust Bowl in general, but against the engineers it's really hard to get in there because whenever you get right to that door, that's right where the sentries can see you. So you have to make sure that I don't know, you're being Ubered or you're being body blocked by heavy or some sacrificial person. I don't know. But anyway, those kinds of things are generally what make fighting a bunch of engineers hard is definitely the choke points. Like choke points without a whole lot of sight to spam out guns and stuff like that. So I mean, Dust Bowl is
Yeah.
is well known for being engineer hell, but
Yeah, but you have a point too about the knockback stuff. That's like a decent that's like a suggestion I've seen a decent amount of times for like how to make the 100 player server better. They're like, dude, you need to get rid of the sentry knockback. We can't Uber in.
no,
get
I
so
think
mad
that
about
makes
it.
it. I think that makes it interesting. I think that what would help is if people took advantage of the unlocks in the game that prevent knockback more.
Yeah, you can do like one guy Ubers the guy who shoots things, and then you have another quick fix medic, and then you have a third medic Uber the quick fix medic.
Yeah, it
So
takes
I've
a lot
seen
of
people do that,
coordination,
but it's
but it does work.
yeah, it's way too. You need like all the stars to align for people to have it, work out like that.
My based pick for that is Soldier with the man treads. Believe it or not, you can literally walk up to the sentries and they won't do anything to you.
Well,
It's
yeah,
kind
but
of like
so
a
the
mini.
problem.
It's a mini quick fix. I mean, you still get a little bit of knockback, but you can actually just walk up to the sentries with them on. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, no, I think that strategy would work. The only problem is that you're not killing enough things. Like,
Right.
because there's gonna be like 20 sentry guns. Like, you can take down like maybe 4 of them, and then nothing else happens.
See,
So
that's why I use it with the beggars, so I can just never stop firing.
Actually, that's not bad.
Just
I wonder if
unload all
anyone's
20
tried it.
rockets. I mean,
Okay.
I've definitely messed around with it. I mean, it's a funny strategy, but there's definitely. I mean, when you have access to something like the sticky bomb launcher, I mean, why would you actually try and seriously do that? It's so much better of a weapon in general.
I mean, I think there's honestly a genuine use case for it if there's like a map that's like really restrictive. If there's like a corner you need to.
Yeah, if you
turn,
can't
right?
actually peek the corner without getting shot at, then yeah, I suppose like just being able to walk
Yeah.
in would be valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we've spent a lot of time talking about the many player servers. We should talk a little bit more about the Rescue Ranger, I think, because there's, I think, a lot to be said about its ability to yoink buildings. Because
Okay.
I personally think that ability is very underused when used in conjunction with like aggressive sentries, or like just keeping your gun at like level 1 and just like moving it around, because it's kind of like using the mini sentry but your mini sentry is tankier and does more damage, because like imagine this, you're just using a level 1 sentry and you have the Rescue Ranger and the Jag, and you just kind of like go to different, like you're like playing connect the dots, like you're just like going to a location, moving your sentry there, like getting a dumb kill with it because they didn't expect for there to be a fucking level 1 there so fast, because you're redeploying it with the Jag, so it's just like up immediately when you put it down. And then you go to a different location and then you just move it again and it's just in another location. It's really hard to describe, but I've done that a lot on payload offense, and it's a surprisingly effective strategy if you just use the pistol for your own defense. Like, you don't really, a lot of people think like you're supposed to pair the Rescue Ranger with the Wrangler, but if you pair it with the pistol, you kind of negate what I was saying earlier, which is giving up your own personal defense a little bit. The pistol's pretty good on Engineer. I mean,
I think I would have to ask, why not just use the mini sentry though? Like, what's the? I guess you want the regular level 1 for tankiness.
yeah, I mean, the mini sentry is good, but you have to make sure that you're putting it down against good players. You have to make sure you're putting it down where they can't just shoot it before it does anything. Because if you put it down in front of somebody, and then they're just going to shoot it before it actually does any meaningful damage to them. Like, you have to put it around a corner, or you have to basically like put it in a place that you're baiting them into, or you have to put it down and then run away from it while shooting your shotgun. You basically have to just use it as a sacrificial distraction. Like, the mini sentry, I feel like has a kind of like a very linear and predictable playstyle. I think probably just because people have played against it a lot. People don't really play against aggressive level 1 or level 2 sentries very often at all. And I think that surprise factor catches people off guard. If you just put a level 1 sentry down, they can't actually destroy it before it starts doing meaningful damage most of the time. Unless they're playing like Demo Man, they just put 2 stickies under it. But like, even against a soldier, if you put down a level 1 in front of them and then Jag redeploy it, by the time that it's up, like, you'll be able to heal all the damage off of it.
I mean, it sounds like a decent strategy. It sounds like, to be honest, the problem is just that NG is like a noob class, right? No offense. It's the class that, you know what I mean? Like, people don't like to explore because they're trying to just learn the video game.
It's good that you bring that up, because I do think that a big reason why people, and no offense to you if this applies to you, I totally understand, but I think that if you're using the Rescue Ranger all the time, it's probably because like you can't really aim, and that's okay. Because it's a lot easier to aim at something that's still that's just like standing still, and you feel like you're getting use out of it. That's good. It's a good weapon to use for if you feel like that. And if you're railroading yourself into playing a turtle engineer because you don't want to like get into scraps and like rely on your aim, that playstyle applies to that kind of mentality where you're not actually going to be aiming your gun, like doing tracking and, trying to predict and stuff like that. That's just you being aggressive with it. I think that if you if you practice at it, I think that anybody, even if you can't aim, can get good at that strategy.
I don't know, maybe that's like a video you need to make then. It sounds like people don't know. Actually, it's actually quite good.
It is something that I would like to make.
I think what you said about the Jag and like how it can heal faster than a soldier can damage it, I think that's actually pretty key information. Because in my mind, if I, just going off of like my game sense of how, like TF2 works, right?
Yeah.
I would think, okay, that's not a good strategy. The sentry's gonna die. So I think if you told people this, they might actually consider it.
Didn't try and do it, yeah. Because I guess if you're imagining in the scenario, you'd think like, oh, like if you put down a level 1 sentry that's being deployed.
Because why would you throw that sentry gun in front of someone else like that?
Because it auto heals itself. I don't know if you know this, but the health that it has when you pick it up, it's going to heal itself constantly back up to that health that it was at.
They had to get rid of it for the mini sentry because it was really
yeah, exactly.
annoying.
But that still applies to those guns, and I think that that's really powerful, especially if you're starting with 150 health.
You can reinvent the old mini sentry. Valve nerfed it, but we got another one.
We can bring it back,
boys.
Yeah, the mini sentry that takes a little bit of strategy. It's like a little strategy game,
Yeah, I also have to wonder if people who play Gunslinger NG, they do it for the sake of they just want to shoot things with the shotgun.
Oh, for sure.
And so then like the mini sentry being like a sacrificial lamb is actually the point.
Yeah, exactly. Use it as just extra 100 damage that the enemy is forced to do now. And I've talked about that in my Battle NG video. It is a good idea to use it as a distraction. But the most effective way to play with it, I think, is to use it as a baiting tool. But I mean, you can do that with any sentry gun. And I also said in that video that I believe, and it's not even a belief, it's just a fact, that level 1 sentries are better than mini sentries because they do more damage and they have more health, and you can actually redeploy them faster than a mini sentry if you're using the Jag. So maybe that should be a video that I should make someday, but it was a section in that video, so I feel like maybe people got enough information from that video to make the connection, but maybe I should just make an entire video highlighting that specifically. I don't know. Leave a like if you want to see that.
Yeah, I mean the Gunslinger also has like the visual draw to it, right? Because it's like, oh shit, it's a sick robot arm, and then
for sure,
it's also like the combat engineer weapon, right?
Right, it's good for RP.
Yeah, it gets you in the mood, It's like, oh, I'm RoboCop, and I'm gonna clean the streets of all these slugs.
Yeah, and also the 150 health I think is probably, I'm not even kidding, probably like one of the best things about the Gunslinger. I think if the mini sentry absolutely fucking sucked shit, people would still use it just for the 150 health, to be honest.
So I would have used it for the free hit combo personally, but
I love that. I love punching heavies that can't get away from you doing that. They're like, yeah, leave me alone.
Yeah, that's actually pretty terrifying. Is it enough damage to kill them? I'm actually not sure.
It is. If they're fully overhealed, then you have to hit them one more time. But I mean, honestly, a 4th punch is usually fine if you catch them off guard. Mm-hmm. A lot of people freak out if you get in their face. I feel like that's an underrated buff that you get when you do that, is that people actually probably throw their mice across the desk because they're just not expecting you to be in their face.
It's honestly true. There's been a lot of times where I die to a free-to-play NG who just holds W at me and he crit wrenches me. And
exactly.
What the fuck am I supposed to do? I just die in one hit.
How was I supposed to predict that he was going to do that?
He just runs down the stairs and hits you and you die.
Exactly. The people who play like that are the most powerful beings, I think, in TF2 because you can't tell what they're going to do. There's no way to predict or play around it.
Yeah, it's like the drunken fist or whatever. The guy has no concern for his own safety. He's going in.
That is terrifying to imagine, especially from an engineer with no hats, no anything, default wrench.
Have you had experience fisting heavies, by the way? Does it actually, I'm curious how you feel it works out in practice. Does it actually work?
Are you talking about doing the triple hit combo?
Yeah, the free hit combo. Do you actually pull it off?
Yeah. I mean, it's like 45 minutes into my Battle NG video, so I understand if you hadn't seen it, but I did talk for like a good, probably 30 seconds or a minute about the triple hit combo.
Yeah.
Before I had made that, when I made that video, there was a bug where the third hit sometimes didn't register, and then they fixed it, so it's actually better now. Because of there used to be some sort of like connection or problem that caused you not to get the third hit sometimes, the third hit crit. But yeah, I mean, I had you could see a bunch of clips of me running up to heavies that are not looking at. By the time you have the third hit on them, they're dead. Like they can't kill you fast enough. And
that's crazy. I keep thinking in my head, if I imagine that, I would assume that, like, if you ask me now, I would assume that there wouldn't be enough time. But I guess people are preoccupied, and that kind of gives you enough time, just enough.
I mean, if you think about it this way, like, say you have the perfect spread shotgun on a heavy at close range. You shoot them 3 times with the shotgun. I think you're still like 20 damage off, because I think it's like what 90 90 90. Like that's not that's not 300. That's you're 30 off. So with the triple hit gunslinger combo, that is like literally the best way that you can kill a heavy at close range. So it is kind of funny to imagine, but yeah, the triple hit gunslinger combo actually does have a good break point.
It's like a spy backstab at that point then.
Kind of, yeah. A backstab that you get to count to 3. 1, 2, 3, you're dead.
To paper over my awful attempts at arguing against the Rescue Ranger's viability, I picked this weapon in the first place because I also just thought maybe it's a good weapon, similar to the Wrangler, to split it into 2. That was the big thing that I thought was interesting about it.
Really?
Because it does seem, I don't know, at first to me it seemed like you could split it like the Equalizer, right? So you could have one version of it that's just, it leans into the healing aspect, and then one version that entirely leans into the rescuing part. And I feel like it'd still be like good weapons.
Yeah,
right? Like if you
sure.
split them.
I mean, I don't really see the point in doing that, but I think that you could probably do that. And I don't know though. I mean, you'd leave it the same, like leave the stats the same on each end. Like you wouldn't slightly make one of them make each of them stronger to make up for the fact that they're not a combo thing anymore.
Yeah, I think you could probably make them stronger. If I was personally doing it, if I was at the Valve office and tapping away at the keyboard, but
okay.
Yeah, I mean, this also came from the POV initially. At first, I was thinking that like this weapon might be a bit overtuned, and then that's like a good way to get around it. But I mean, yeah, if we're starting from the premise of like it's not overtuned, then okay, there's no point.
But it is an interesting thought experiment.
If it became an issue to the point where people are like, okay, this is bullshit, then right? I mean, I think like you could apply this to something that's definitively overpowered, and you can say like maybe that would be more interesting if you could only pick, I don't know, like 2 resistances at spawn or something, and then you to just commit to it, or like I don't know, maybe I don't know, like I just feel like TF2 could explore that a bit more, like you split weapons a bit more, making people make more like choices in the loadout screen.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily have a huge problem with it. I just think that it's a little bit convenient to be able to do both with one thing right now. So why complicate it, because most of the time I think people would just end up using the healing one. The teleporting one I think people would never use, because I think that honestly not enough people see the value of it like just by itself. I think that you'd have to give it something else, or just make it like basically. What
if you could also teleport to the sentry gun? Holy shit.
Oh, I mean, that sounds overpowered as fuck.
Wait, is it?
Yeah. Is it? Being able to teleport, I mean, here's the thing, like...
what if you still need LOS, though?
So? That's still crazy.
Okay. All right, fine.
That's still insane. Okay,
how?
Let me tell you this. Like,
okay,
being able to teleport with the Eureka effect, I think is insanely good, and not enough people do it. And that has a 2-second cooldown before you, like, you have to stand in place for 2 seconds for it to work. I think that the way that you make the rescue ranger teleporting to the sentry gun balanced is you also give it like a 2-second you have to stand still and taunt or something thing. Being able to instantly teleport as any class, I think, would be stupid. That would be so broken.
Wait, what would happen? Give me like a... How would it play out in the video game? You know, give me an example.
Okay, so you're
like,
attacking.
What are you envisioning would be so crazy if you could teleport to your sentry gun? If you needed to have LOS, people would be shooting it, right? So you teleport to, you take 100 damage, and then you like die.
Teleport.
Spam,
where
right?
where would I appear?
I don't know. Let's say on top of the sentry gun. Why not? Or like next to it.
Okay, if I teleported next to it, then would that mean like on the side of the gun that I'm looking at? Like I basically teleport to where I'm looking, essentially next to it?
Sure.
Okay, so somebody is sapping my gun. I teleport to it and unsap it.
The spy would be there. He could kind of shoot you.
So?
He would...
Yeah, I guess I'd shoot him back.
I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to imagine if I teleport to my sentry gun and a spy I sapped it. I feel like you need some time to orient yourself in your new environment, right? I feel like
Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends what kind of level of spy each of us are imagining. But I'm thinking he would just fucking like free tap me and then I'm dead, right? Like with the gun. Like,
I guess,
like,
but
okay, and
but
I
say
sapped
you're
his sentry gun, he's in the teleport.
Say you're a
but...
spy, right? And you sap a
Right.
gun with no engineer near it. You're gonna put a sapper on it, and then you're gonna turn around and walk away. Like you're not going to look around for an engineer appearing. You know what I mean? So I feel like if you're a spy, you sap a gun, and then you're just like, well, I've sapped the gun.
All right.
Engineer's not here, and then all of a sudden the engineer is here, and he's shooting you. I mean, that would be very surprising. I think.
All right, here's my hot fix. Okay, there will be like you know, have you played like have you watched any StarCraft 2? You know, like when they teleport in like the Protoss units and shit.
No, I don't know anything
like,
about
thing.
StarCraft.
There would be like a glowing orb, and then it would be like this is where the engine's gonna be. In
Yeah.
like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I think that would make it bad actually.
Oh shit. Okay, damn. Man, I guess balancing is hard work.
It is. I was gonna say like you either make it so you have a delay before you can teleport to it, or yeah, I mean making the telegraph extremely obvious I think would also
Right.
because they'd just see where you're gonna be and then they're just like, well.
I mean, what if you telefrag him though? That'd be so sick.
Oh, if you can telefrag with that, then that would be so awesome. That would be so cool. I would definitely abuse that for. I would put the sentry gun like right outside spawn or something, and then just like. You know what I mean?
There'll be a glowing ball though. I don't know how people would ignore it. I don't know. I guess you get like the free to play heavy installed for like the first.
You just
time.
watch the scoreboard and then like time it as they walk out.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, but I mean, I feel like that'd be a decent way to lean into like a teleporter, whatever ranger version, right? Like the split.
I mean, the way I was envisioning splitting it is just you make the singular weapon that can only teleport your gun, just make it so that it's free or costs 50 metal instead of 100 or something. I mean,
yeah, something like that. I think that would also work.
Yeah.
On that note, have you feel like you've ever thought about trying to do your own mods then?
No.
No. Simple answer.
Here's the thing.
Making weapons is too hard.
I've played other people's balance mods, and I've interacted with the community surrounding those kinds of balance mods, and that is like the ultimate. I mean, I already get enough criticism from the like the like nothing things that I say. So I feel like if I were to make balance mod, like I would just never hear the end of it. I mean, like that's not the main reason why I wouldn't do it. I just know that would be a headache.
Right.
Also, I don't know. I feel like I'm not really that good of a game designer. I like playing the game. I like playing the game. I like throwing ideas out there, but I just don't think of myself as like I have all the answers, because I definitely don't. I just like the game, and for the most part, I like the game how it is. Like there are some things that I would like tweaked, but I'm not going to quit the game because they're not tweaked in the way that I want. I'm just going to deal with it, you know?
Yeah, I get what you mean about the criticism thing. That is, I have sort of, I mean, I haven't been interested in the first place, but I also do think, like, if I was somehow interested in making like a weapon video, I'd also be like really anxious about, well, I wouldn't say anxious, but you know, you'd be aware of like, okay, Like anything I say is gonna be a shit fest. I think it's kind of impressive for the place that tier 2 is stopped at. It's honestly not that bad.
It's relatively
And I
balanced,
feel
right?
like I hear a lot of people talk about how like they want Valve to come back, and I feel like I feel like we have a way higher chance of shit getting fucked up than like actually improving TF2. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like I think it's easier for progress to go backwards than forwards. You know?
For sure. I definitely feel that way too. I feel like if Valve did like a Jungle Inferno style update tomorrow, then people would probably hate it. Even if they made like changes that were generally like nothing, if they just
Right.
I think that people just I don't know. I think that people just kind of are okay with most things right now, and I think that everybody has their one or two like things that they hate, and for the most part they're all kind of different. You talk to one person and they hate one thing, you talk to another person, they hate a completely different thing. I mean, everybody has such varying opinions. There's not like a big target on anyone's like mechanic,
maybe
or
except like Sniper.
I suppose, but I feel like that was like a fad for a while. I don't really hear people
Yeah,
talking about it that
yeah.
much anymore.
Yeah.
I think people kind of just like accepted that he's bullshit and like and moved on or something. I don't know. Or maybe I don't know. Maybe people still feel that way. I certainly do, but like I said, I'm not going to quit the game because Sniper, you know.
Yeah, I think he's okay for the most part.
Just annoying.
But yeah, did we have any threads to close on like TF2 weapon stuff, or maybe a new topic, or
I mean,
have you?
the Rescue Ranger, I feel like, I mean, I've made 2 videos about this thing, so I don't know if there's anything else I can say about it that I've never said before, but I do think that it's a good gun. You think you came into this thinking that it was maybe a little overtuned, but it sounds like you got to get back to playing 24-player TF2 for a little while before you come up with like
but
opinions on
consider
certain
this,
things.
Uncle Dane. I'm a 28-year-old man with undiagnosed ADHD. If I don't play it, then I'll get bored because there's nothing to shoot. But with 100 players, there's constant noise and flashing and explosions and shit going on. Like that's kind of cool.
Oh man, I know, I get what you mean. I mean, I have my own ant farm to look at for that kind of thing, but I don't know if you had this problem. I don't know how often you played 100-player TF2, but there were like weeks where I was like working on the 1,000 Uncles like every day, where like at the end of the night, like I would go to sleep and I'd hear sentry gun like beeping in my head. It was like,
wow, that's actual PTSD. That's crazy. You gotta see a doctor for that.
well, it doesn't happen anymore, but I mean,
Oh, you recovered.
I've recovered.
No, I play at like 0.01 volume, so it's like I can barely hear what's going on, and then I kind of that's good enough for me. So thankfully, I don't have anything like that.
Well, I was trying to record like people's voice in voice or whatever, so I had to hear at least some of it. Otherwise, when I'm playing it casually, I definitely turn the volume like basically all the way down though.
Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah, you're right, because your 1,000 Uncles, there's like sentries going off constantly, right? Yeah,
Yes.
actually, I know what you're talking about. I can imagine the noise in my own head actually, because I hear that pretty often in 100 players too. It's just constant beeping. Yeah.
Yeah, just all the time. Or Demo Man going, medic!
Actually, I don't know if you thought about this, but something that's kind of interesting is that at this point, TF2 is so old that lessons that the TF2 team has learned in, say, 2008 have probably been completely forgotten by now, right? If they ever try to pick up the game again, like they would all just have forgotten.
I mean, I would even argue that they forgot those things when they made Jungle Inferno. So,
Well, yeah, I didn't want to go that far, but yeah.
yeah, they were already kind of out of touch by that point. I mean, it is what it is, though. I mean, those weapons eventually got tweaked to be fine. I don't know. I think that the game is great as it is, and I don't. I honestly, there could never be another update again, and I would be still playing it. So
Yeah, that's true. I've seen a lot of people complain about how they wish TF2 would have a more frequent update cadence, but I feel like in contrary, it's kind of nice that I can come back to this game whenever and it's the same.
yeah,
And
exactly.
I feel like I would loathe if it was like a Dota 2 where you fucking like 20 pages of patch notes.
It would be kind of tiring if I was constantly worrying about whether my favorite class or my favorite weapon was going to be bad when I logged in, you know?
Yeah.
That would be problematic. However, from my point of view, and I know that this is like a point of view that hardly anyone shares, but as a TF2 YouTuber, I think it would be nice if something happened so that I would have something to make a video about. That would be the biggest upside of there being an update. But that's not an upside that benefits hardly anyone in that way.
You can talk about when the next catastrophe happens, you know? When there's when there's like super bots or something.
Super bots. I mean, people were saying that because they put out the updated source code that we're gonna get super bots now. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you think about it, it's kind of a strange like perspective to take, right? Like Valve are gonna like blind like sleepwalk into releasing more bots. Like I think they kind of got it covered, guys.
yeah, I think that a big reason why they release it themselves is because they know for a fact that they can deal with the bots if they ever come back. So it is nice to know that they're confident and now they're not like trying to hide it. So that's why I made my own bots to fight.
Oh shit. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're talking about the Thousand Uncles. Never mind. I thought you were about to announce like a new like Gray Man invasion.
Oh yeah, I know. That's what I was talking about. I wasn't talking about Thousand Uncles. I was talking about my own botnet that I made to invade all of the casual servers so that people are forced to play.
What's the ransom?
I'm saying play Uncletopia because I make a lot of money from Uncletopia. I make so much. I'm so greedy. I make so much money from Uncletopia.
I got pulled into that that conspiracy theory. It was like Uncle Dane is the bot hoster because Uncletopia, and then now Uncle Dane and Show are the bot hosters because they both own servers that are prominent.
It's baffling how someone could make that jump, but they did it. They did it. Also, you said you shorten your name as Show, implying that you pronounce your name shounic. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, that's correct.
I always call you shounic.
Yeah, I don't really know how you're really supposed to say it, but at least when I grew up in Hong Kong and I had this username, people always like consistently called me shounic, and then it's genuinely some like regional thing for whatever reason that North Americans are confused and they just call it shounic sometimes or whatever else.
I think that I say it that way because it's 2 letters off from shoe nice.
Okay.
Do you know who shoe nice is?
Well, yeah, I know who he is,
okay.
and I know his location. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to call my hitman, so I see where the problem is. We have to sort this one out.
Basically, Uncle Dane is a very good sentry.